The Bob Lazar story is such a fascinating one. He was originally Dennis on a newscast as the scientist who broke away from S4, which is a sublot of Area 51, and he said he was working on UFOs, working on this spacecraft, and his job was to reverse engineer basically this unidentified flying object from another worldly place. He said it was from another place. Welcome back, Cito. Great hike. He said it was from another place because we did not have the technology in 1989 or 1988 that this thing had. I mean, it had a reverse force field. It was doing all this crazy shit.
And he was tasked specifically with propulsion, right?
Yeah, propulsion because
they compartmentalized the parts of
in
the
his
aircraft.
entire life, he's been doing propulsion, right? He built like a Honda with a jet engine in it. I mean, he's done all this stuff. So he comes out and does this interview, and then he gets released from the job because of something that was happening in his personal life. He doesn't get asked back to go back. Then he comes out clean with this story because he thinks that the government is not only lying to people, they're lying to science, which he was a scientist. So he was like, scientists need to know that there isn't a technology out there that can create gravity, right? He comes out and do this. The government, now this is all allegedly, then decides that they're going to try to ruin every single thing of this guy's life, basically. This guy's entire history gets erased from working at this place called Los Alamos, I believe, which is a nuclear site or a nuclear plant or something like that, to him going to MIT, this whole thing. And you watch this documentary, and then I doubled down. I watched the entire Joe Rogan interview. So I spent 3.5 hours with this guy one night. I was up till like 2 a.m., late night with Bob Lazar. And I'll tell you what, I don't know if I should or not. I believe the guy. Oh. I believe Bob Lazar. I think what he was doing was real. He seems to be too on brand with every answer he gives that this was, and he didn't like keep the spotlight on him for all these years. He kind of disappeared for like 30 years. And then now he's coming back to tell the story because a guy named Jeremy wanted to tell the story. A guy with a beard. He and Rogan had a couple interesting moments. He tried to out Rogan whenever he got a little bit intoxicated. Tough to do, by the way. Rogan's got a very good brain. But I enjoyed the documentary. I enjoyed the whole thing. I'm all the way in on Bob Lazar, which means I'm all the way in on aliens. And it was hard to keep Bigfoot around. So Bigfoot's gone. Aliens are all the way in. And now everybody, 300,000 plus, are going to storm Area 51.
It's up to 600,000.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was close to 1 million.
600,000 people are going to storm Area 51. First reaction was, send Nick into that group. First reaction was, gonna get a flight for Nick, fly his ass out to Vegas, tell him to hop in that little caravan, get his little sword, and go fucking rally the troops and run right in. We need somebody on boots on the ground at this situation, is what I thought, my first thought. Then I thought, man, this is gonna be awesome when this happens. I mean, how are they gonna stop 600,000 people? And then I thought back to Bob Lazar. They're flying UFOs around.
Yeah. They reverse engineered some shit.
They can knock out 600,000 people in no time.
They just send out a little shockwave. Everybody passes out.
Oh, we did a nuke test. Yeah. An accidental nuke test. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's what this is a government. This is our military. Yeah. We did an accidental. I think it's a terrible idea. I think it is a bad idea. Bob Lazar has come out and said he thinks it's a bad idea. Joe Rogan, I think, has even come out and said, hey, I think it's a bad idea. This number is still growing. So, hey, there's some heroes that are going to storm those grounds out there. And you got to do what you got to do. But I do believe they should, just like those guys going into war, like I think there should be a good thought in the back of your mind, like, probably going to die out here in this desert. And you know what? I appreciate your service. I want to let you hipsters know I appreciate your service, and I wish I could join you, but I got an island I would like to buy in a few years. I can't be dying right now.
Here's the best part about it. Even if it is a massive joke, which we all know it is, and only, let's say, 20 people show up, when that many people sign a petition, the government has to prepare as if it's actually going to happen. They have to have people ready and mobilized in some fashion as if something is actually going to go down that
600,000 people is a large unit. That is a large army coming to storm the desert out there. Are they going to be smart enough to listen to the 12 strong guys? Are they going to come in from opposite directions?
No. They're running with their arms behind their back.
Yeah.
You think they're going face first into this?
That's literally what it said. They said they're running with their arms behind their back because they think it makes
You send all the
faster.
Kyles in who are juiced up on the Monster Energies. They go first, and then everyone follows that way.
Is it sponsored by Monster Energy now?
No, it's just that's what Kyles do.
That's not a bad idea. I mean,
People are going to show up.
Yes, 600,000 people signing up for this. Yes, there's going to be
at least a couple hundred.
10%. Let's say 10% show up. That's 60,000 people.
How many casualties do you think this is going to result in?
I think it's going to be 100% death rate. I think it is 100% death rate.
They already posted. I don't know if it was like the Department of Defense or the Air Force or something, but they're like, we are very ready and willing to defend state secrets here. Like,
yes.
I mean,
They said it's an Army training area.
Yeah, exactly.
So there will be armed soldiers.
Bro, Bob Lazar in the documentary said the last guy that had his job died because they tried to cut into the UFO and it blew up and it rattled so big that they had to release a statement saying that they had an unannounced nuclear test. And that was just them trying to cut into a UFO that killed the last guy that was there. And that's just like, what? You don't think they could just 100,000 easily with their hands down?
I don't think they need to. Like, you just can't. There's metal doors. You can't get in Area 51. I think they could just fucking chill inside and pretend like nothing's
just
going
sit on top of the cargo roofs because they said everything is just kind of built in these hangars, right? So you can't see anything from the sky because Google Images, Area 51 Google Images, is just like a couple hangars here and a couple hangars there and nothing to see
It's
here.
all sub-level.
But bro, whenever Bob Lazar said he was there, he took his friends there for 3 weeks straight after he was like no longer being called back there because it was on Wednesday nights. He wanted his friend George, who's in the news, to legitimize his story a little bit. He's like, well, on Wednesday nights they test these things because there's nobody on the highway. So they went out there the first week, I guess. They saw something, but nobody saw him. Second week, same thing. Third week, he said they got a bit loud and they were like tailgating out there, and all of a sudden the night vision scope fell and they turned on the headlights and there was like 45 fucking military people just sitting there like, hey, you guys need to get the fuck out of here. Actually, they arrested them all, I think, and then they interrogated them and sent them all out of there. That was in 1989. Like, what do they think is going to happen 30 years later of fucking just lining up? And those people are all prepared for. They're not just clicking, yep, join group. You know what I mean? But I would like to say, if they get in there and learn some shit, hey, I appreciate what you've done.
Awesome.
They also said that like the desert leading up to how you would get in there is filled with barricades and obstacles that are like covered in the dark. So I mean, good luck. Good luck, folks.
Landmines and shit.
Yeah.
Nick, I would like you to know that and appreciate that my first thought was got to send Nick in there.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Why was it Nick?
Just because Nick was the one that told me to watch the documentary. Oh, okay. I feel like he was the most dialed into the whole thing, you know what I mean? But I think you should watch that documentary. It's very hard. The first 10 minutes is tough. You got to really get through. They had Mickey Rourke, I think, doing the voiceover. It's kind of tough.
I didn't realize that I tried to watch that previously, and it was during that first 10 minutes of Mickey Rourke and that weird kind of thing that happens at the beginning.
Yeah, the little cutaways that they do and stuff is awkward.
So you just kind of jump through there till you get to the Bob Lazar parts, and they're awesome.
And the Rogan interview, by the way, is just Rogan sitting there just peppering Lazar with all the questions that he has after watching the documentary. Very much worth it. But it seems as if this Lazar guy...
I totally believe him. For one, like you said, like he came out on this one and said, I wish I'd never come out and said anything to begin with. I don't make any money from this. It's done nothing but pretty much
ruin his life.
Cause negative things to happen to me.
Yeah.
And then, it's just, you can tell he's not a crazy person.
Well, that's what I say. Unless he's like a pure stone cold sociopath, he speaks so matter of factly and confidently and calmly. It's like, it's very hard to say, oh, that guy's lying.
He had a migraine on Rogan, and like 35 minutes in, he like stumbled on an answer. He's like, I have this migraine. I was like, wait a minute.
Aliens.
Don't you fucking lie to me right now. Like, that was my first glimpse of him potentially like stumbling over his story. But then he hopped right back on the horse. And I was like, oh, okay. He's fighting through a migraine too, this guy.
Yeah.
His story is even working through a potential migraine, which I've heard is debilitating.
Right.
So, I mean, it was, I believe him. It's a whole new world though, knowing that aliens are real. That's awesome. That's really cool.
We've always known.
I have actually. I've been a very
vocal proponent
of aliens happening.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, it's too big out there.
Yeah, it only makes sense.
It's too big out there when you look up. And now I look at the sky in such a different way too after watching that thing. Whenever you're like matter of fact that there's something out there, it's hard not to just look up there and be like, I don't know where the fuck they are. Like, is that star right there a fucking just an alien hub? Like, because they said they're small. So, like, are they living in stars out there? Like, are they in stars up there? And they said, well, it came from some galactic system that's like 3 light years away. Or I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? I don't know what that means. Does that mean I can see it, or does that mean it's in it? They're like, no, it's through a black hole through like another space. Which, by the way, there are still people on this earth that we're living in that think we know more about fucking space than
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.